Hey, Julie.
Good morning, Joel.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
I know secret that it's your birthday today. And so we all want to wish you the happiest day. Do you have some special plans?
I actually had my special party last night, and then I'm going to do another little something on Sunday. You know how girls are. We spread it out over a week or maybe even a month. So yes, yes, and yes.
What about the 4,000 people standing outside the door waiting
let them eat cake.
Okay. Well, we want you to have a great day, and we're fortunate that we can do CareerLab on your birthday, so it's exciting. And let's get started.
Wonderful.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hi, Ashley.
Good morning.
Ashley, this
Hi,
is Joel.
how are you?
We're doing well.
Hi, Joel.
And good to hear your voice here with myself and America's career counselor, Julie LaCroix. Welcome to CareerLab. And, of course, this is a show where we're going to help you. Julie's going to work with you a little bit, Ashley, and help you on developing your career tracking and getting a little bit unstuck and things like that. And I'll be here as well. So why don't I send this right over to Julie, and we can get you all started.
Hi, Ashley. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I loved the way you wrote to us. You said you've been sidetracked as a full-time model for almost 6 years, although you do have a college degree and you need help getting the wheels turning toward a professional career. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what your career dreams or daydreams might be about and what your academic degree is in and how we might start to pull together the pieces of your puzzle into a beautiful picture.
So I received my degree in psychology, and it's been about 6 years now. And I just, every year, things get going, and I say to myself, okay, next year I'm going to, settle down and start a career. Mm-hmm. And I realized that it's really difficult to have nothing on your resume other than I've done promotional modeling and spokes modeling and print and commercials and all different sorts of things. So I have accumulated a lot of skills, and I'm just not sure how to turn that into a relevant career to use my new skills. And to be frankly honest, there's just a few things that I'd like to do, and I'm not sure how to hone in on making a quick transition.
Okay. So it sounds like you have a lot of confidence in your skill set and you have a lot of optimism, which, as anybody who listens to CareerLab knows, that's actually a huge piece of the puzzle. What do you think you might want to do? And it's okay if it's not a quick entry or a quick transition. It may take 2 steps instead of 1, or even 3 steps instead of 2. So let's see if we can start to plot those points. What if you could be doing anything, what would it be?
So that's actually kind of my biggest struggle. Is there are a few fields that I'm interested in, but I'm not sure which would be. I love travel, and obviously as a model, you're always on the road. And for fun, when I do take time off, I travel all over the world. So I've always wanted to set up some sort of like travel, but I'm not sure if it really makes the income that I'd like. So that's one thing. And then also I have my degree in psychology, and I'm not really sure where I could go with that.
Okay.
So I have a few things that I'd like to do, but I'm just not really sure what my aptitude would lead me to. Does that make sense? Like I that's my hang up, is that I'm not sure what I can really make of myself with my ideas.
Well, Julie's going to take that on in just a minute, but let me ask you, are you still modeling? And if so,
yes.
How's that going?
It's going great overall. I love it, but it's just not practical. I'm married now. I want to start a family. So it's just not practical to be, in somewhere and traveling across the country while I'm pregnant or while I have children, so it's time.
So it's been a very good short career in modeling. You've done well, and you still like it and enjoy it, but because of your lifestyle and situational factors that you're describing, you decided to move away from that.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's important for us to know. I'll throw it back to you, Julie.
Yeah, so it sounds like would you want to travel for a job and set up travel, as you say, quote unquote, set up travel because you enjoy traveling or because you're good at setting things up? Are you good at organizing logistics and planning and things like that?
Absolutely. That's
okay.
my strength, I feel like.
All right, so let's go right into that then. That's what we need to, that's where the conversation needs to go. Like, tell us about your administrative skill set. It sounds like you're very good at organizing, planning, orchestrating, producing ideas, events, maybe even travel schedules, timelines, priorities, things like that.
All of that.
Okay, tell us more.
That is my strength. So I have worked as a lead model for a few companies that involve traveling.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would orchestrate like the schedule and the flights and this and that and what time we need to be where and why we need to be, present at this event at this time. So I've sort of worked on the logistics for a few different companies, and I enjoyed that, and I enjoy booking my own travel, and I love planning these crazy trips where you're in Africa and you're, with the elephants or petting a cheetah or, different like exciting trips as well as corporate travel. And I just don't know where to go with that. Like, I don't know where to get started. I don't know how to make a successful career for myself because, let's face it, living in Southern California, you need to make a certain amount of money to have a comfortable life,
Sure. So before we talk a little bit about how to apply those skills into a career path, let us just understand what you enjoyed the most out of your psychology degree. What types of classes did you enjoy the most?
Right. So this is kind of irrelevant now that I've gone so far with my career because to work in psychology, you need a master's degree at the very least and probably a PhD. And I just took general psychology and I really enjoyed the classes like an elective class. It's just enjoyable and I loved it. But to take that into an actual career, I'm not sure what I'd like to do.
Okay. So maybe you don't want to necessarily be a therapist or a counselor, but you certainly like working with people and the content was interesting. Do you remember any specific classes?
It's been so long, but I think I loved pretty much all of my classes. I loved cultural psychology. That was really fascinating to me. And I did overall just really enjoy all of my psychology classes, but cultural psychology did stand out to me.
Okay. And in cultural psychology, what exactly do you remember learning? What types of things stood out to you?
We learned about the differences between cultures, basically, and the psychology behind that.
Okay. So there is definitely some connection between that cultural psychology class and the enjoyment in travel, it sounds like. And when you add in the administrative skill set that you have, I would think that one of the first things that's right under your nose would be looking at a professional career in event planning or niche travel, which very much overlaps with event planning skills. Have you ever looked at the Professional Association for Meeting and Event Planners and thought about pursuing a certificate in that and maybe getting into corporate event planning, like working for a large company that has lots of corporate events?
That sounds really fascinating. I've never thought about that.
Oh, okay. Well, I think maybe you just didn't know. Of that. Yeah, maybe you just didn't know about it. Imagine Coca-Cola as a company.
Yeah.
How many leadership and team building and mentoring and product training meetings do you think they have around the globe every year for their internal employees?
I can imagine.
Right.
I can imagine for such a huge company.
It's a lot. And so they have a team of internally staffed corporate event planners. And that is a career path, a very respected corporate career path. You can definitely get into it with a psychology degree. We could definitely extract the experiences you've had in international travel, cultural psychology, cultural differentiation, scheduling, planning, all of that. And we could probably court some of the larger companies who do corporate events. And on the other side, if you really want to get into the travel industry, a lot of people think that the travel industry is going away. I beg to differ. We've traveled since before there was fire. We've traveled as human beings since the dawn of time. So it's not going away. It's just more niche. And if you think that those crazy trips to, pet the elephants in Kenya are really fascinating for you and you want to be a part of that kind of creative event planning or travel planning, then I would look at the Travel Industry Association's professional website and see if you can start going to some of those meetings and understand how some of the niche players are putting together these very elite programs for companies and luxury buyers who want some unusual experiential experiences.
Does that appeal to you, Ashley, the idea of niche travel?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it seems like it does encompass several things you've been doing. Your interest in cultures is evidenced by your cultural psychology classes. You're traveled already as a model, but you can't do that anymore, obviously, in the current familial situation. But it also sounds like you probably have the personality that would fit well in a niche travel. And I want to just reinforce what Julie said a moment ago. In fact, niche travel is booming.
Yeah.
It is a sector that is very, very vital. And you know what's interesting, Ashley, is that niche travel is working very well at the high end, where people who are a little more affluent are scheduling all kinds of trips individually, and they're using smaller boutique niche travel companies and agents to help them do that.
And you understand that luxury buyer. You've been in the high stakes modeling world for a long time. You understand exactly how that goes down. And you've probably worked with some pretty spectacular brands, and that is very, some brands that require a lot of diligence and focus and professionalism. So you could probably step right into their demand level.
Is that resonating with you? Yeah.
Ashley, I think you just didn't know. I think your issue is lack of information about how to bridge what you have to a couple of ideas out there. So I hope we've solved that for you. I think basically, if I could summarize really quickly, we want to take a real focus on that cultural psychology class, rethink that, maybe jot some notes down of things you remember learning, projects you remember, papers you remember writing, things that were topics that were discussed in lecture, if you can get that detailed. What you really took away from that, and then how that was actually then underscored in any of the work that you've done as a model, traveling the globe and organizing events and interpreting different cultural interactions, and then add in that administrative skill set with some good, solid vocabulary that, the ones I've given you, planning, orchestrating, organizing, things like that, timelining, schedules, budgets, travel, things that you already had. And then take a look at the two areas of corporate event planning. I would look at the Professional Association online. You can Google for it. And I would go to some of those quarterly or monthly meetings so that you can meet some other people in corporate events. And I would also look up on LinkedIn or Indeed or Monster, wherever, some corporate event planning jobs and take a look and see if those are interesting to you. Then I would also do what Joel suggested in the niche travel. Go ahead and look at the professional associations for the travel industry, see what's going on. And if you think you want to pursue something there, then, you should package yourself to do that. And in private practice, I could help you package that up. But in lieu of that, the Master Pack is available on CareerLabNow.com on our website. There are all the tools that you need to figure out how to package yourself into a resume and a channel that's going to work for you, and a resume and a cover letter that's going to sell you through that channel, and also how to find those companies in the target lists and set up your profiles and all of that. So I would encourage you to do a little bit of exploration and just go for it. You're perfectly poised. And even though you have a deferred entry for 6 years, you've accumulated a lot for the industry that you're one of the two industries, or either of the two industries that you're considering.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all of that. I mean, really, I feel like I have a direction. It's very, very helpful to have you spell all of that out, because I did lack the information, and that's what I really need to know is what is booming, what is relevant, what really makes sense.
Good. Well, we're really glad to hear that you're getting that value, because that's why we have CareerLab. Now, as a participant on CareerLab and a guest on the show, you're also entitled to meet with either Julie or I and have a meeting where we're going to do a little deeper dive, because obviously we only have a certain amount of time in each segment on CareerLab. So actually one of us will be reaching out to you, and we'll be able to have a segment with you where either by phone or in person, we get a chance to take this a little bit deeper and make sure you get to where you're headed. Okay?
Okay, gosh, you guys are just awesome. Happy Friday.
Okay, well, thanks for...
Whoa. You can wish me happy birthday, and when you do set up that big trip in Kenya to go pet a zebra, I want to come.
Absolutely.
I was thinking about New Zealand actually myself, right? So you
New
be sure
Zealand,
to keep in
yeah,
touch.
that too. We can just tell her where we want to go and have her build her career around it.
Okay, Ashley.
Yeah,
Well, we'll be in touch with you, and thanks for being a guest on Career Lab.
Thank you both so much. Have a great day.
Okay.
Bye, Ashley.
Bye.
Well, that was fun.
She's a cutie.
Yeah.
She's so ripe and ready to go, and she feels like she's behind and lost, and that she just needed. The bridge was already just right there. Nice to know that she'll find it.
Well, a lot of times, in the work we do, both, in career development, career counseling, and in transition work, we find people who are transitioning from something that for one reason or another isn't working. And it's more of a problem. I had a feeling with Ashley that she just had decided to kind of move on. She felt pretty fulfilled in her modeling career.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that's critical is it's great to leave something you've been doing professionally and feel fulfilled. Mm-hmm. It's not so great if you have to leave, in a way that's not that fulfilling. So one of the things that made Ashley such a fun caller was that she did feel fulfilled with her modeling work, and now she can move on.
Yeah, her cup was in one way full and in another empty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I also felt like it was great that you were able to zero in on the idea that modeling is an environment in which she meets a lot of upper end people, people
Absolutely.
who are well connected, people who have resources and who want to travel and those kinds of things. And so, in other words, she really needs to use her professional network if she's going to develop that.
And in the luxury markets, just knowing the luxury buyer and the luxury client, interacting with them alone is one of the key hiring features. You have to know how the luxury client buys. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because our listeners, if you're working in the luxury markets and you want to stay working in the luxury markets, sell the fact that you understand the luxury buyer. That's a really strong selling point for people who are transitioning from area to area. If you're going from wine to private aircraft, if you're going from private, I had a client a couple weeks ago coming in. He did private aircraft to like a VRBO style segment for a larger, more elegant real estate company. They're doing VRBO now. So there are just lots of ways to transition if you keep the consistency of, I understand the luxury buyer. So I wanted to make sure she knew that.
Right. And actually, just to follow up on that, it's a whole acquired skill to understand the high-end buyer, what they need, and how to provide customer service for them that works. And so if that's where some of our listeners are going, you need to get some skills and understand it, because that is the entire ballgame. Everything else is secondary to understanding how to work with a high-end client and how to provide the kind of customer service they want. And it's not always easy, because that is actually the most demanding, most difficult client or buyer group to work with. But if you understand how to do it.
If you understand it, it's the easiest for you.
Right.
So everybody, water seeks its own level. So everybody has to listen to where their water level is.
Right. Well, this was fun.
She was fun.
Okay, well, this has been a good segment. Let's move on.
If you'd like to be a guest on Career Lab, send me an email. Visit CareerLabNow.com. While you're there, download my proven curriculum with over 200 entry-level job titles, samples of resumes which have snagged my clients the interviews they want, and a job search strategy that will work for all junior professionals like you. Visit CareerLabNow.com. CareerLabNow.com.